Hey YouTube, what's up? Ted Naiman here, and I'm coming at you with another video. And today we're going to talk about why type 2 diabetics are the opposite of bodybuilders. Type 2 diabetics are inverse bodybuilders, or negative bodybuilders, or the polar opposite of bodybuilders, or bizarro world bodybuilders. Okay, well, what the heck am I talking about? Well, let's start with bodybuilders. So, the goal of every bodybuilder is to have the highest lean mass at the lowest fat mass. That's what every single bodybuilder is doing. That's their entire goal. That's their only goal. Highest lean mass at the lowest fat mass. Your body has two compartments. You have the lean mass compartment, which is muscle, mostly muscle, also bone and connective tissue, and then you have your fat mass. So bodybuilders want the highest lean mass at the lowest fat mass. That's actually the goal of everyone out there, whether they know it or not. That's your goal. That's my goal. That's the goal of everyone who comes to see me. You actually want the highest amount of muscle at the lowest amount of fat. And that does a lot of things for you. First of all, muscle is awesome metabolically. It's great for disposing glucose. It's great for disposing energy. You have the highest metabolic flexibility if you have a lot of muscle. You also have more strength, and strength and muscle equals longevity. And the more muscle you have and the stronger you are, the longer you're going to live. On the other side, having lower fat gives you lower fasting insulin levels and lower insulin levels after you eat, and you're just basically way more insulin sensitive. So for ultimate health, you really do want the highest lean mass at the lowest fat mass. Now, the way bodybuilders accomplish this is, first of all, with their diet, they prioritize the hell out of protein. They're going out of their way to eat protein, which partitions into lean mass, and then they're very, very careful with non-protein energy. They're either low fat, low carb, or some combination of both. And so they're partitioning as much of their diet into lean mass as possible, and as little of their diet into fat mass as possible. So that's what bodybuilders are doing. It's pretty basic, actually. They're also doing resistance exercise with the highest intensity they possibly can because they want to send an optimum stimulus to their muscles to grow. They're trying to communicate to their muscles that they need to grow. And that's what you do. It's resistance exercise to stimulate muscle growth. It's protein so that you're prioritizing partitioning of your diet into muscle rather than fat. And that's the bodybuilder strategy. It's basically protein and lifting. Pretty easy. Okay, so now let's look at type 2 diabetics. So we'll start with, first of all, what is type 2 diabetes? Well, when you eat food, you're eating protein and minerals, which your body might use structurally. You're also eating non-protein carbs and fats, which your body uses for energy. And if you eat too much energy, it gets stored in your fat cells. If the amount of energy you're eating is way out of proportion to the amount of protein and minerals you're eating, you have to store a lot of energy in your fat cells. And your fat cells all have a maximum diameter. They can expand to hold more and more fat, but they have a maximum size. Your fat cells can only be so big. And you have subcutaneous fat cells under your skin that expand and store fat. And once they've reached a maximum size, you have to try to sprout new fat cells. Now, some of us can sprout 1 million fat cells and end up being 1,000 pounds, but a lot of us have genetic limitations to how many new fat cells we can build. Once you've expanded your fat cell number as much as you can, and you've expanded the diameter of each fat cell, then you've run out of this subcutaneous fat storage. Now your body has to start trying to store fat viscerally, and that's this abdominal fat, right, that expands your waistline and we know this is associated with insulin resistance. So after you've maxed out your subcutaneous fat stores, you have to try to store fat viscerally. Well, eventually you run out of fat storage in your visceral fat cells as well, and once you've filled every fat cell you've got, now your body tries to store fat ectopically, which means shoving fat where it doesn't belong. You might shove fat in your liver or shove fat in your pancreas, and you end up with fatty organs. And pretty soon you get to the point where you've shoved fat into every cell in your body and there's no more place for fat. And what happens next is your cells start refusing glucose. All of your cells are filled with fat. None of your cells can accept any more fat. And now they all start refusing glucose. They're like, oh, hell no. We're not taking this glucose. Somebody else has to worry about this glucose. So all your cells are refusing glucose. And it's only then, at this very, very end stage, severe insulin resistance, fat overload, energy toxicity, whatever you want to call it, it's only then that your blood sugar actually starts going up in your bloodstream. blood sugar has no place to go at this point. Also, your triglycerides are super high because that's fat energy that has no place to go either. So here's your type 2 diabetic. They've literally filled their entire body up with dietary energy, carbs and fats mostly, and they have run out of places to put anything, and now their cells refuse glucose, and now any of the energy they eat in their diet has no place to go, and it just circulates around in the bloodstream. Okay, so at the same time that your type 2 diabetic has maximized all the fat storage they can do and run out of fat storage, they also tend to have very low levels of muscle. Most of our type 2 diabetics end up having what we call sarcopenic obesity. Sarcopenia is a condition where you're under-muscled, you have too little skeletal muscle. And most type 2 diabetics have sarcopenic obesity, meaning they have very little lean mass and very high fat mass. Muscle burns most of your energy, and muscle is also great for disposing glucose or even disposing of fat, and you burn off a lot of energy using your muscle. Now, if you have very little muscle, that really just speeds you along this path of type 2 diabetes where glucose has no place to go and triglycerides has no place to go, and you're always in an energy positive state and you have too much energy and you're never getting rid of enough energy. So this sort of highest fat mass and lowest lean mass is a perfect recipe for type 2 diabetes. And that is why type 2 diabetics are literally the polar opposite of bodybuilders. They've literally achieved the highest fat mass at the lowest lean mass. That is the exact opposite of what bodybuilders are trying to accomplish. And the way these type 2 diabetics have done this is because they've eaten not enough protein and far more non-protein energy like refined carbs and refined fats. And so they're partitioning all of their dietary intake into fat storage or energy storage rather than into lean mass. They're also not doing a ton of resistance exercise, so they're not giving their muscles a stimulus to grow. Instead, they might be sitting around, which is actually a stimulus for your muscles to atrophy. If you're not using your muscles, your body reabsorbs that. Okay, all right, so type 2 diabetics are anti-bodybuilders or reverse bodybuilders or negative bodybuilders or inverted bodybuilders or whatever. Okay, you got it. Here's the reality, okay? This is reality. Everyone is a bodybuilder. You're a bodybuilder. I'm a bodybuilder. Everyone watching this video is a bodybuilder. You are a bodybuilder. You have built the body you're in with your diet and exercise choices. Everyone has done this. If you eat protein, you're literally prioritizing your lean mass. If you eat non-protein energy, you're literally prioritizing your fat mass. Every time you do maximum intensity exercise, you're stimulating muscular growth and building lean mass. Every time you choose to just sit on the couch and watch Netflix and do nothing, then you're literally prioritizing your fat mass over your lean mass. And so everyone out there has built the body that they're in. You are a bodybuilder. Oh, hold on. More coffee. Okay, all right. Okay, so now we've established that type 2 diabetics are the opposite of bodybuilders. They have the highest fat mass at the lowest lean mass when they really need the highest lean mass at the lowest fat mass. So if you're a type 2 diabetic, what are you going to do about it? Well, here's what you do about it. First of all, you realize that you're a bodybuilder, and then you become a fully woke bodybuilder, and you ask yourself, okay, what would I do if instead of being a type 2 diabetic, if I was a competitive natural bodybuilder, you know? Okay, I wake up in the morning, I'm a type 2 diabetic, but I'm going to be a competitive natural bodybuilder today. So what would I eat for breakfast? Would I just mindlessly eat a giant bowl of Captain Crunch with whole milk and then get a Trente Frappuccino on the way to work? No, I would carefully craft an omelet with 2 eggs and 6 egg whites and some asparagus and some spinach, and I'd eat that for breakfast. And I'd have a little side of skinless chicken or salmon. And if I was a competitive bodybuilder, I would take a 0 carb, 0 fat protein shake with me in case I got hungry mid-morning, and I'd pack my lunch, and it would be a Tupperware of chicken breast and broccoli, and I would be maybe doing half an hour on the stair climber to get in my fasted cardio, and I'd block out an hour in the afternoon to go to the gym and lift heavy and do a heavy push or pull or leg day. That's what I would do if I was a real bodybuilder. And then every time I ate, I would be thinking, how can I get more protein and less energy? And every time I exercise, I would be thinking, how can I work out with the highest intensity possible to maximally stimulate lean muscle growth? And that's what you have to do if you're trying to turn your type 2 diabetes into a real bodybuilder. And you know what happens if you start making these choices? If you start choosing to prioritize protein over non-protein energy, if you start choosing to put maximum tension on all your muscles on a regular basis, what happens is you actually do turn into a bodybuilder. You slowly lose fat mass and you slowly gain lean mass, and eventually you end up where you want to be. And you know what this does to your type 2 diabetes? It completely destroys your type 2 diabetes. It's completely gone. I have patients doing this. They're not just in remission, where as long as they don't eat carbs, their blood sugar is pretty good. No, their diabetes is destroyed. If you can lose enough fat mass and gain enough lean mass, you completely regain metabolic flexibility. Now you can dispose of tons of glucose. Now you can dispose of tons of energy. If you just imagine you had an infinite amount of lean mass and muscle, you could dispose of so much glucose and triglycerides and energy that anything you did with your diet would be no problem. And that's really the holy grail of metabolic flexibility and insulin sensitivity. You want tons of room in your fat cells to store any incoming fat. You want tons of room in your muscle to store incoming glucose as glycogen. So you want lots of muscle, and you also want to deplete it regularly with high intensity exercise. Phew, okay, all right, that is enough ranting for one day. I wrote a book with William Shufelt. It's called The PE Diet. Check it out at thepediet.com. And we talk all about why you want to prioritize protein over non-protein energy if your goal is to get the highest lean mass at the lowest fat mass. We also talk about how to maximally perform resistance exercise with a high intensity to stimulate muscle growth, and how to perform cardio at a high intensity as well to deplete muscle glycogen. So check it out. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.